Yo, what's going on guys, Arekkz here and welcome back to another Destiny video. Now, Bungie have just had their second April update livestream. Last week they talked about some of the new stuff we'd be doing, and this week the topic of conversation is new stuff we'll be earning. So just like last week, in the event you missed the livestream, I'm going to give you a quick rundown of everything you need to know from today's stream. Also, apologies that it's a little bit late today. I was actually flying at the time the stream happened, so I'm editing this from my hotel room, and that's of course why the audio might sound slightly different too, and plus the Wi-Fi is a little bit slow here. But either way, better late than never, so if you guys do enjoy this video, then a like will be super appreciated, and comment down below and let me know what you think. So to begin with, let's start with the new armor. There are 5 brand new sets of armor to earn in this April update. Some of them are adaptations of existing armor sets with some new Chroma options, which I'll talk about in a second, and others are brand new. So to begin with, there are 3 new sets of faction gear. One for Dead Orbit, one for New Monarchy, and one for FWC. And while the designs might not look drastically different to what we've seen before, what they do incorporate is the new Chroma system. Remember that node that we saw in the weapon menu last week and they didn't really talk about? That is Chroma. This is a system that's available to both weapons and armor, and Chroma is a consumable item that you can acquire, and when you have it, you spend that material on one of the nodes on your armor. Chroma comes in 4 colors, which is white, blue, red, and yellow, and when you first obtain a piece of gear, it'll have a random Chroma color slot. You can then spend the respective color material to activate it, and then turn the lights on, so to speak. But if you want a different color, you can then re-roll it. Now, re-rolling will cost 100 glimmer, and it is random, so sometimes you might get the same color, but the idea is that you re-roll until you have the node you want, and you then spend that material in said node and you turn the lights on. Looks pretty cool, and that's how you get that kind of Tron effect. It's also worth noting that Chroma is unique to each piece of gear, so you don't have to have, say, all blue gear or all white gear. You could have, white, red, blue, yellow. Maybe if you want to go for an Iron Man look, you can combine them, but either way, Chroma is unique to each individual piece, so you can mix and match it however you please. It is also worth noting as well that Chroma is not affected by your shaders, so if you do throw in like a green shader and you've got red Chroma, then your Chroma will still remain red. And as mentioned, while the new faction gear might not look drastically different, it does allow you to use the new Chroma system to colour some parts of the gear. Moving on from there, you have the Spectre armor, and this is a completely new and never before seen armor set, and this is the kind of Tron set that everyone was talking about, and it was designed specifically with Chroma in mind. So again, it allows the use of the new system, and it does look pretty cool, especially I am really liking the look of that Hunter cape. And then finally you have the Desolate armor set. The Desolate set is the Taken set. We speculated before this week's stream that the Taken armor might have been a shader, but it is in fact an actual armor set. It uses the Prisoner of Elders gear models, but it's been completely Takenified, or taken, however you want to say it, whatever it is. Also, despite it not actually being shown in stream, you will still be able to get the original Prisoner of Elders set as armor rewards from the Challenge of Elders. It will drop up to 335, and of course you get that by handing in your sigil and completing the cumulative score each week. And that set too allows the use of the new Chroma system. You'll also see on the back of these Desolate Guardians that some of them do have Taken weapons on their back. The Taken weapons come from the new Taken version of the Winter's Run Strike, or at least some of them do. Also, something else that's special about the Desolate armor set, among all of the new emotes, which again I'll speak about shortly, there is one special emote. It doesn't cost anything, but you can only obtain it from tests once you have a full Desolate set, or a Taken armor set. Once you have the full set, the emote is the Taken Shiver, or the Jitter, that kind of like creepy one where the Taken's twitch. You can have that too for your Guardian only once you complete the armor set. Now, just before we move to the other stuff we can earn, the observant ones out there might have noticed the lack of map and other HUD elements on the screen, and as of the April update, you will also be able to disable the HUD completely should you want to, both in social spaces and in combat. Of course, if you do it in combat, it does mean you won't see ammo, health, super, etc. So of course it might make things a little bit harder, but if you do want a clean experience, then the option will be there for you. Now moving back to the gear, the question is, where do you get this all from? I mean, the faction gear is quite obviously purchased from the faction vendors, but the new Spectre and Desolate armor comes exclusively from what is known as Sterling Treasure. You might remember seeing last week in the director, the reward for completing a level 41 Prisoner of Elders, that's the match-made one, was a Sterling Treasure. And the Sterling Treasure is the source of these new gear pieces, as well as Chroma and some rep boost items too. On a weekly basis, there are 3 sources of Sterling Treasure. The first is simply visiting the Postmaster, the second is the aforementioned level 41 Prisoner of Elders, and the third is completing a match in the weekly Crucible playlist. Not the weekly Crucible bounties, just the simple weekly playlist. That is 3 Sterling Treasures you can earn per week, and once you've earned those, you'll have to wait until reset. However, if you don't want to wait, you can still buy Sterling Treasure from Tess Everest. Of course, there was always going to be a microtransaction hook. It is, however, worth mentioning that all the items that come from Sterling Treasure, much like the Sparrow Racing League gear, come in at level 3, meaning it is purely vanity gear, and if you do want it to become viable, you will still need to infuse it with, of course, gear that you will earn elsewhere. So while yes, you are technically buying armor, you're not really buying power because the stuff you buy from the Sterling Treasure won't actually be of any use to you unless you want to waste some of the gear you've earned elsewhere. And speaking of Infusion, one of the cool changes also coming in the April update is that the Infusion process is now 1-for-1. If you remember how it works right now, if you infuse, say, a 320 item into, say, a 300 item, it'll average out somewhere around 310. But in the April update, the item you are infusing will assume the light stat of the infusion fuel. So if you were to infuse, say, a 330 item into one of these level 3 items, it'll come out at 330 light. Now, jumping back to the Sterling Treasure for a moment, you can also preview what's inside the box before you open it. On the left hand side you have the guaranteed column. This means that every single box you open is guaranteed to have one of these items, but you also have the chance to get something from the possible side, and you'll see that that includes class items, rep boost, and also Chroma. Chroma comes exclusively from the Sterling Treasure, or dismantling items from the Sterling Treasure. So if you get a duplicate armor piece and you dismantle it, that'll turn into Chroma. Now, collecting all this new gear and all the new weapons is going to take up some space, and in the April update, we're also going to be getting an expansion to the vault space. We'll be getting a new page for weapons, armor, and generals, so that should at least help you with collecting some of the new stuff. Speaking of which, some of your favourite Year 1 items will also be coming back, the likes of Shadow Price, The Devil You Know, Grim Citizen, etc. You won't actually be able to buy these from the tower, so you can't just say return to the Vanguard weapon vendor and go and buy them, but you will be able to get them from legendary engrams. They'll drop at 330, but you can of course infuse those up to 335 if you want to use them as an endgame weapon. Moving on from there, there are a whole range of new emotes. Again, these are being sold, so will cost you silver, but you do have some pretty cool ones, things like Praise the Sun from Dark Souls, you have the Shia LaBeouf Just Do It emote, and you also have some cool like sumo and crane kick options. There are some pretty cool choices, I'm just going to play those in the background, but to be honest, I think I'm just going to be happy praising the sun and maybe using that kind of like jitter taken emote. On top of that, as mentioned, you do have taken weapons, but there is also a super awesome looking taken sword. The taken sword is a void sword. They didn't say whether there would also be solar or arc versions. I imagine not, just because the sort of void element actually seems to match taken, but either way, this will also be something you can earn. And as mentioned, you can also apply the Chroma Glow to your weapons too, or select weapons. So while it might not necessarily be that obvious on this Reef Scout Rifle, on this taken weapon, the Chroma definitely does show up looking pretty sweet. So again, this will only work on select weapons. You can't necessarily go back and take old weapons and throw Chroma on it, but provided the actual node is there, then you can put it on your guns. Now, that is pretty much it for new stuff, but before I wrap this up, as a summary point, your sources for light level 335 gear are now as follows. You have the level 42 Challenge of the Elders version of the Prison of Elders. You have King's Fall Hard Mode. It's worth noting that on the April update launch, it will only drop gear at 330, but shortly after that, they're going to be dropping a hotfix, which will allow King's Fall Hard Mode to drop armor at 335. And of course, normal mode will drop 320. Iron Banner and Trials of Osiris will also drop 335 gear. Strike Uniques can also drop up to 335, and the Court of Arekkz will of course drop 335 artifacts. On top of that, it's also worth mentioning that some of the Year 1 exotics are also coming back. If you keep your eye out on the Destiny the Game Instagram, they're releasing pictures of the returning ones gradually, but to give you guys some examples, you have the likes of Glasshouse, Sunbreakers, ATS8 Arachnid, the Purifier's Robes, etc. There's still been no word on the missing Taken King exotics, things like the Thagamizers, etc. So I'm not too sure what happened to those, but for the time being, that's a look at some of the stuff we can earn. So if you guys did enjoy the video, then don't forget to drop a like, comment down below and let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, take it easy, catch you next time, peace out.